Back in 2007, a few of my guy friends and I decided to embark on our first camping trip together. There were about 8 of us in total, and our destination was Kings Canyon National Park in California. We set off around 2 in the morning, eager to find a camping ground and set up our tents before indulging in some fishing and swimming. Arriving at 5 a.m., we quickly realized that all the prime camping spots were already taken. Undeterred, we sought out a less crowded area to set up camp. The day unfolded with plenty of fun activities. By 6 p.m., everyone had gathered to cook and prepare for dinner. I took on the role of cook, but amidst the hustle, I noticed a friend dragging a long log for firewood. Although it struck me as odd, I didn't dwell on it and rushed to assist him, helping carry the log back to our tent. In Hmong culture, dragging a log to the campsite symbolizes leading the way for the afterlife to where the trail ends. As we sat down to eat, a sudden chill permeated the air, and the wind picked up in strength. A sense of unease settled over us, and I couldn't shake the feeling that someone or something was watching us. Gathering my friends, I proposed the idea of leaving. Some agreed, while others hesitated. Despite the reluctance, as darkness descended and the wind intensified, we took a vote. 6 out of 8 of us agreed it was time to go, as we all felt the same eerie chill. Quickly packing up, I made a proclamation to my friends before we departed, declaring that the place was not suitable for camping and suggested that we find another spot further down the road. With that, we all piled into our cars and began our journey back to the city. Yet, as we descended from the mountains, an ominous presence seemed to follow us, casting a shadow over our journey until we neared the city limits. According to the local shamans, it was believed that we had offended the guardian spirit of the land when my friend dragged the log to our campsite. This, they said, was why we felt pursued as we left, chased away by the dark energy. In July or August of 2011, we went camping around Wisconsin, specifically at Yellowstone Lake State Park. Despite the elders' warning to avoid places with roads and little paths, we ventured out anyway. It all began on the first day when everything seemed fine. We swam, hung out, went fishing, and, of course, told scary stories. On the second day, we engaged in various activities and stayed up until 3 a.m., the infamous devil's time as some call it. While many may scoff at such superstitions, I've always believed in ghosts. We were a group of 7 or 8 people, including my little brother, who was following one of my friends along a walking trail at night. As I remained at the campsite with 4 others, my brother was playing ninja with them. Suddenly, I spotted my friend returning with his companions, which sent shivers down my spine. It felt as if something was watching me. And then, out of nowhere, my brother was forcefully pushed by an unseen entity, propelling him about 6 feet. We yelled at him, but fear took hold, especially when my aunt, who was a shaman, sensed a spirit nearby. Terrified, we hastily packed up and retreated to the safety of a rest area. Later, we mustered the courage to return, and my aunt gave my brother a knife for protection, instructing him to keep it close. However, when we checked later, the knife had vanished, despite no one admitting to moving it. Frightened, we abandoned our campsite until morning and hastily departed in separate cars, equipped with walkie-talkies for communication. During the drive, we heard screams and witnessed a friend being seemingly possessed, his voice altered as if inhabited by a malevolent force. As if that weren't enough, the car behind us experienced a sudden malfunction, only to mysteriously start again after we sped off at 90 miles per hour. Voices filled our car and the walkie-talkies, telling us that we'll die that very day. We drove recklessly until reaching the highway, where a police officer promptly issued us a ticket. Upon arriving in Madison, my uncle, obsessed with finding the missing knife, had a dream revealing its location in a garbage bag. Acting on this premonition, he directed his friend to the bag, and to everyone's surprise, the knife was indeed in the garbage bag. After this experience, we had to hooplee for each and every one of us, and it marked my first encounter with the paranormal. So, my family, friends, and I decided to go camping. As darkness fell and rain began to pour, we found ourselves engaged in card games and board games, while the moms took care of their own activities and the dads went fishing. I recall there being a total of 22 people, including 6 parents and 16 kids. Let me describe where all the kids were hiding from the rain. We were at a park that often hosts birthday parties and provides free electricity. The boys brought their Xbox consoles to play games like Black Ops Zombies, while others brought their laptops. It was amazing how we all got to enjoy the activities that we loved. Wow, they really brought TVs and consoles? As the clock struck 1 o'clock, we collectively decided to watch a horror movie, The Tunnel. During the movie, I swear I saw something darting quickly in black attire. I asked everyone in the group if they had seen what I saw. Some confirmed that they had, while others dismissed it, attributing it to tiredness. But I knew what I had seen. After watching The Tunnel, we all retired for the night. My cousin, a girl, my little sister, and I slept outside, while the others slept in the tent. Once again, I saw the figure. I shut my eyes tightly, only to find it getting closer each time I opened them. Terrified, I clutched my little sister's hand, who was 8 years old at the time, following the elder's advice that holding a young child's hand would ward off malevolent spirits. I didn't care whether she was a baby or not, I just wanted to feel safe. I silently prayed for everyone's safety through the night. It was my first time camping in what would be considered a haunted place. Rumors circulated about a haunted house surrounded by a swamp, reminiscent of the movie Hatchet. During daylight, we even ventured to take a look, sending shivers down my spine. Another tale circulated about a girl drowning in the pool's deep end, which was about half a mile long. My cousin claimed that while fishing, she and another person witnessed an ape-like creature leap into the lake, causing a massive splash. Though some were skeptical, they all saw the water disturbance. The next day, despite my fear, we went swimming. I avoided the deep end at all costs, and fortunately, nothing happened to me. A long time ago, myself and 13 other friends, both guys and girls, embarked on a camping trip down south, about an hour or two away from Appleton. As is customary with such outings involving young adults, we brought along a few cases and bottles of alcohol. The first night was shaping up to be a memorable one. We were having a great time chatting, setting up our tents, and building a sizable bonfire. Around 9 o'clock, as darkness descended, one of my friends suggested that we share ghost stories. 5 of them recounted tales of Hmong vampires, while I contributed a story about ghosts with twisted lower halves, something like the Kungoi. I mentioned that such entities exist in America as well. After the storytelling session, I had the not-so-bright idea of playing a game of Ghost in the Graveyard. All 13 of us, having indulged in some drinking, were feeling a bit buzzed. I volunteered to be the ghost and set off to find the others with my flashlight. Every few minutes, I located one of them until we were all gathered near the camp. We counted heads and confirmed that all 12 of us were present. Just as we were making our way back to the fire, a girl emerged from the forest, shouting, I won, you didn't find me." We were all taken aback, and I assured her that I indeed found everyone. She seemed surprised too. When asked if we had counted heads, I replied affirmatively, explaining that that was why we stopped. That's when we noticed something chilling. The girl who hadn't walked back to the campsite had her lower half twisted backwards. We screamed in horror and quickly scrambled into our car, speeding off into the night. Since that terrifying incident, we never dared to go camping again or share ghost stories. A week later, one of the guys fell seriously ill, prompting his family to perform a uneng ceremony. The shaman revealed that my friend's spirit had been taken away by a girl with whom he had made a promise with in a past life. However, after negotiation, the girl allowed him to return. When I was growing up as a kid, my aunties, uncles, and grandparents would often take me and my cousins on fishing trips and camping outings. I distinctly recall the days when we would venture to El Dorado National Forest or Yosemite for our camping adventures. During these trips, I often overheard the elders discussing a haunted campsite nestled within one of the national forests that I mentioned. They spoke of a tragic tale where a young lady was assaulted and murdered. It was believed that her spirit was haunting the site, tormenting anyone who dared to camp there. One day, while camping with friends, the night grew cold and quiet as everyone retired to their tents or cars to rest. That's when strange occurrences began to unfold. You see, when you're out camping, it's common to be armed and to have a dog for protection. At some point, amidst the pitch-black darkness and eerie silence, I felt a palpable shift in the air, as if something ominous were about to happen. Feeling frightened, I woke up my grandmother and asked her to accompany me to the bathroom. As we emerged from the tent, we noticed one of the girls still sitting outside. My grandmother advised her to put away the food to prevent bears from being attracted. In hindsight, it seemed odd for someone to be outside alone in the cold and darkness. After returning from the woods, we heard sobbing coming from a nearby campsite, which immediately reminded me of the stories that the elders had shared out about the haunted site where the young lady met her tragic end. Fear gripped my heart as I realized our campsite wasn't far from where the murder had occurred. Back in our tent, I lay frozen with fear as I heard footsteps outside. Initially, I thought it might be my cousins, but as the shadow passed by, the air turned icy cold. The sound of sobbing filled the night, and I found myself paralyzed with terror. I knew that acknowledging the presence of a ghost only fueled its power. The shadow loomed closer, and I could do nothing but silently pray for it to vanish. I huddled under my blanket, repeating, "Go away," in a desperate plea. Eventually, the silence returned, but it was a chilling stillness that enveloped the air. When daylight finally broke through the treetops, I summoned the courage to wake my grandmother and share my ordeal. To my surprise, my cousins, aunties, and uncles all had their own unsettling experiences to recount. One cousin, sleeping in the Suburban with the dog, felt a sense of unease as the dog growled at an unseen presence outside the window. He too heard the sobbing and saw a shadowy figure pass by, accompanied by a bone-chilling coldness. Another auntie described a terrifying dream where she ran through dark, frigid woods with the sound of sobbing echoing behind her. My uncle reported being pelted with rocks outside his car before feeling an inexplicable shaking, accompanied by the haunting sobs. It's a truly chilling experience, and if you're skeptical, I urge you to visit the site yourself. If you do decide to explore, tread carefully and remember to not bring her spirit home with you. Last year, after a camping trip in southern Minnesota, I found myself immersed in a week-long encounter with the paranormal. Coming from a family with a strong belief in shamanism, which involves interactions with the afterlife, I initially thought that I could handle such experiences easily. Little did I know what awaited me. During our camping trip, as the sun dipped below the horizon, fireflies began to twinkle in the darkness. Behind our campsite lay a trail where fireflies fluttered closest to the ground. My cousins and I, eager to catch them, ventured out, but my younger cousins, apprehensive of the dark, hesitated. Determined to be brave, I set out to capture a few for them. Upon catching one, I heard their cheerful cheers prompting me to rush back. However, my joy was short-lived as I heard another voice calling me from afar. As the evening wore on and we gathered around the campfire, a sense of unease began to creep over me, despite being surrounded by family. Even as others retired for the night, I couldn't shake the feeling of a presence lingering nearby. Eventually, it was just me and 4 of my cousins left around the dwindling fire. One cousin decided to go relieve themselves, but when I saw him nearby moments later, I called out, only to realize that he was right beside me. Bewildered, I turned back to the figure I had seen, only to find it had vanished. Though unnerved, my upbringing in a shaman family instilled a sense of calm within me. I kept the incident to myself, knowing others would dismiss it as a paranoia or a trick of the mind. As night descended and we settled in for sleep, I shared my experiences with my 2 cousins my age, Brian and Timmy. My revelation sent shivers down their spines, causing them to quickly drift off to sleep, leaving me the last awake. In the dead of night, a blood-curdling scream pierced the air, jolting all of us awake. Timmy and I, startled, exchanged worried glances, attributing the sound to our older cousin's song. Refusing to succumb to cliches, we opted not to investigate further and attempted to resume our sleep. The next morning, Song denied any recollection of screaming, but Timmy and I confirmed that we had heard it too. However, our family brushed it off, attributing it to a demonic presence, failing to understand the gravity of our experiences. The rest of the camping trip passed uneventfully until the journey home, when inexplicable symptoms plagued me. Fatigue, perspiration, and trembling gripped me despite feeling otherwise healthy. Upon reaching home, I confided in my parents about the night of the fireflies, only to be met with dismissal. Determined to find solace, I reached out to Song, hoping for reassurance. Yet his response echoed my parents, dismissing my fears as baseless. Struggling to rationalize my experiences, I recalled a lesson from my uncle, a shaman, about seeking protection from monsters. With his words echoing in my mind, I eventually drifted into a fitful sleep. In the dead of night, I found myself in a lucid nightmare surrounded by a haunting vision of death and despair. Upon awakening, I was consumed by fear and sought refuge in my uncle's guidance. After I told him what happened, he confirmed my suspicions. A vengeful spirit had attached itself to me. Determined to rid me of this malevolent presence, my uncle performed a ritual. He had to uneng for me using ancient traditions and his shamanistic tools. I had to sit in front of an altar on a bench while he performed his rituals. After some time, the ritual was concluded. My uncle lifted the red cloth that covered his face and assured me that the spirit had been banished. At the end, he left me with a protective necklace to ward off future encounters. This story unfolded a few years ago in the rural outskirts of the Twin Cities, Minnesota. Annually, our student organization embarks on a camping trip to a secluded site, where we immerse ourselves in the great outdoors and engage in various outdoors activities. A highlight of our camping excursion is the Odyssey event, organized by the organization's alumni. Each year, they select a territory, define the boundaries, and orchestrate the course. This nocturnal event aims to replicate the harrowing journey of Hmong people fleeing to Thailand, navigating through dark woods while evading capture by the Blalia, who were the alumni. My cousin, a participant in the camping trip, eagerly joined the Odyssey Challenge. The terrain for that year's event proved formidable, requiring participants to scale and maneuver through the rugged woodland terrain, taking cover when necessary. In the dead of night, halfway through the course, my cousin commenced his ascent up a hill towards the campsite. As he climbed, he sensed a presence in his periphery. Glancing over, he was startled to encounter the figure of an Indian man ascending the hill alongside him, fixing him with an unwavering gaze. Startled, my cousin sprinted towards the hilltop with all of his might. Ultimately, he completed the course, but the encounter left him baffled. The chosen campsite was rumored to be Native American land, adding an eerie layer to the experience. Another camper recounted a similar experience during the Odyssey event, citing a Native American figure traversing the woods and locking eyes with him. Indeed, the cover of darkness often unveils the most mysterious occurrences. The disturbance within this particular campsite seemed to awaken the spirits that lingered within those ancient woods. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Goodbye.